Um,
This is Giovanna Silvestre, and you are watching the Break It Down show.
this is fun. I love it. New year, new things, I don't know, points of view. I've been trying to. I bet you'll appreciate this, Giovanna. The need to like get wider. My array of guests is enormously wide, but that doesn't mean in the middle doesn't kind of lack things sometimes. So I'm a dude. I'm 55 years old. Well, 55 on Friday. So I tend to go towards dudes and then combat stuff and spying because these are things that I did. Then all of a sudden I lose my musical roots. I lose my ladies. I lose the things. So I'm doing an effort of like kind of cleaning house and going back and polishing up areas of the show that I just don't get to very often. It's not about intention, but boy, it is about bandwidth, and it is hard to keep up with all of the things that you're fascinated with in life. Do you have that kind of a sense where it's like there's so many things I'd like to do, but I don't get to do all of them?
I'm pretty good at doing the things that I like to do, and for me, I like to do new things. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. I get bored pretty easily. Right. I have a little bit of a monkey brain. So I'm always kind of doing new things. And I don't know, for me, I feel like my life has been so like all over wild the last few years. Like even right now I'm in Los Angeles with the fires, which is horrible and weird, but it is also kind of like an adventure. You walk outside, you're like, how's the sky going to be today? And am I going to find like ash all over my car? Or, so, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't actually feel like
no, that's fine. No, there's different ways, different lives, different things. It's totally fine. But let's talk about the fires for a minute, because I'm down in Orange County. So just south of you, we certainly get our raging fires as well. Yeah. And a lot of my friends and family are like, where are you at? Because it's so hard to know where anything is in Southern California. Like when I was always asking when I first moved here, like, what is the valley? Because you guys may not notice, but there are canyons and valleys and a basin. And what is the valley? And it was just hard to even understand then, like when the valley stopped and like when Hollywood started. And, it gets to be pretty confusing. So I've had a lot of loved ones checked in and are like, hey, where are you at? I'm like, we're totally fine. We're miles and miles from this stuff. But I know people that have lost their homes. I know people, one of the PR people that takes care of my PR when I'm doing PR runs, his house is gone. It was gorgeous and irreplaceable things inside of it. And he got a lot out, but he worked with Don Wells, who played Mary Ann on Gilligan's Island. And so there's like all these little keepsakes that are just gone forever and in an instant, right? And there are so many people like that who are in show business who had very specific things that are so it is tragic. And then you look up at the sky and the moon sets and the sunsets have been gorgeous.
Yeah. No, it's really a strange time because so Tuesday the fires started and I had just been working all day. I wasn't watching the news, so I didn't know about the fires. And I thought, okay, I should do a little walk. I'll walk to the pharmacy, get my medication, and then go get my nails done. So while I was in the nail salon, I saw on the TV the fires, Pacific Palisades fires. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, what's that? But then you're thinking, oh, maybe it's just a little fire. You're not thinking this. Right. And then I go to the liquor store to buy a candy bar. And then the guy, I know him because I've lived here for so long. And he's like, oh my gosh, be careful of the fires. Did you hear about the fires? And I said, no, but I'm going to look now. And my mom, she lives in Orange County too. And she was going to head up north to see some people in San Luis Obispo. So I called her immediately and I said, no, Mom, have you heard about the fires? And she goes, no. And I said, you cannot leave. I said, the highway's going to be crazy. No, I think it's a really big deal. So then she was like, started watching the news, called me. You better pack a bag. You better know what you want to bring when if they evacuate you. And it's crazy because where I am, I'm only like 9-10 miles away from mass destruction from the Pacific Palisades. I'm like in Marina del Rey.
Yeah.
So I'm so close. I mean, literally, I could ride my bicycle there on the beach pathway. I could ride all the way there. But it's so strange because here, I think like on Tuesday, we're kind of all looking at each other like it's weird. But then I don't know, people were still in our area, like still going to work and still going out and doing things. And then there was a day where the air quality was bad, but then yesterday we had actually good air quality and the sky was super clear because it's really based all on the winds.
Yeah.
It's 100%. If the wind is going, like, it'll just like blow anything out of our way. So last night, I mean, the moon was so intense and the sky was so clear. And then today they said air quality is moderate. So it really depends on where you live. I feel really lucky that I live where I live and we don't have a lot of brush around us. So it's a lot less likely to catch on fire. Also, we're next to LAX. So I feel like there might be some extra protection there that we might actually have water in our fire hydrants. I mean, fingers crossed at this point, it's a very strange thing. And it's hard to know what to believe too, because so many conspiracy theories. And I've just been more watching what's going on daily. I haven't gotten into the conspiracy theories, but too much. But the thing about conspiracy theories is like 10, 15 years ago, people had all these conspiracy theories and it was like, oh yeah, conspiracy theory. Okay, you're a whack job. And now with all this stuff coming out about like just everything from Harvey Weinstein to P. Diddy to this political thing, that political thing.
Yeah.
Now
Impossible things. Right. Yeah. That have come true.
You're like, oh, in Hollywood, they do satanic rituals and like molest children and they're cults. And then people be like, no, yeah, right. And then now people are like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like it's just it's becoming, everything's being exposed. Like everything is being exposed. So if somebody was up to fishy stuff here, it'll be exposed. I really believe it.
It's hard to hold back our excitement and desire to know when something happens, like when there's some kind of calamity, like who did it? Why did they do it? Who are they? What's the reason? We're desperate to know these things. And it seems like we should know right away. And so like with the fires, we don't know. And so if someone says, I bet it's arsonists, like that remains a reasonable opinion until we know more. And we may never know in some of these cases, right? But when we shut down the person who is saying something that's reasonable, that also is bad because like, hey, they get a chance to have that opinion. Back when COVID broke out and it was like, hey, isn't there a lab right there? What if it got out there? Don't you say that. Like, no, that's a legitimate thing to wonder out loud, And
that actually ended up being true.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we know, it's more likely than the wet market thing, And so, yeah, it is. Gosh, that makes it. You talk about like being confused and like the confused girl in the city kind of thing. When we look at like what reality is around us, it seems to shape. Look, I'm no fan of Donald Trump, but the next time he says they did this and it's a horrible thing, like spy on his campaign, and it turns out it's true, you're like, well, what do I believe? And it does get hard to sort out what's real
and what isn't real. Yeah, no, that is really, really true. And it's funny because, talking to my mom, and we actually, my mom and I watched Martha Mitchell, this documentary about Martha Mitchell. She was the one, like Nixon said, Watergate wouldn't have gotten out if it wasn't for her and that whole thing. And my mom's like, and I said to my mom, this is so funny that Watergate was such a big deal because now we're actually talking about politicians as pedophiles and like sex rings with like Hollywood. And my mom's like, if somebody would have told, like as a kid, this was a huge thing. Watergate was such a huge thing. And I was like, oh, that's child's play compared to like what's going on now,
I know. Yeah.
What's getting exposed now. And my mom's like, yeah, we would have never thought those things growing up. She's like, but now if you tell me that this person did this or this person did that, I wouldn't put it past certain people. And I just think that it's sad. It's so sad, but it's also a cleansing. It's like a necessary cleansing of society that needs to happen. And, with the confusion, and I wrote a book, Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos. And really, my book is about how confusion is actually a virtue. So speaking about all of this and what I just said about it being a virtue is like, it's because you are about to discover something. And in the way that we're talking about it, people actually discovering things and knowing the truth of things or the truth of themselves is a good thing. Putting your head in the sand about your life or about, the society that you're in, as we can see from what's happening in Los Angeles with the fires, putting your head in the sand doesn't work.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum. The other day, yesterday, earlier this week, into last week, I guess whenever it was, I saw the news that Joe Rogan had Mark Zuckerberg on his show. And normally I don't care what Mark Zuckerberg says because, we're worlds apart. Yeah. He wouldn't take a meeting if I was allowed to call him. It's like, if you're that distant from me, then you're not relevant to me and I'm not relevant to you. No hard feelings. But I saw that he had said some things about what President Biden's administration had done to censor things. And so I'm like, well, I have to watch this now. And here's the thing I've learned through my cleansing of things. I don't take on face value anything the press says in terms of clips or statements, because they will take and make the thing that is most sensational, most salacious, most clickable and say, what do you think? And I'll feel something because I hear this thing. So I now go back and I'll just listen to the whole damn thing. And I did. I listened to the whole thing. And when he talked about officials from any government, but in this case, it is the Biden administration, calling Facebook and screaming at people to censor people, I was like, oh my God, that is not how I understand our government is supposed to work. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, so I don't care about that part of it. But if they are doing that,
wrong.
And
that's just wrong.
Yeah, and if they're leaning on Facebook, it's a private business. And I'm supposed to be okay. I'm not okay with that. I don't care what your politics are. Mm-hmm. That is not the right thing. That's totalitarian, right?
Oh,
and so go ahead.
I totally agree with you. I mean, it doesn't matter if the Republican Party is doing it or the Democratic Party is doing it. That is totally against what we stand for as Americans. And you see, we are literally on a very slippery slope. Okay. And there has been more censorship going on. I hope that's going to change now. But if you see like what's happened in Europe, like in England with, have you heard about that? About Keir Starmer and then the gang rape crews that were raping all these underage girls, and the political party was trying to cover it up. And and they started to put people in jail, British people in jail for speaking up about it, for just telling the truth. They took them. So they're not going out there and getting the rapist. They're going out and getting the old little woman who's like speaking out about it and putting her in jail. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And I think in America, that's hard for us to understand because we feel like we're so far from it, but I don't think we were that far from it. I don't think we have to be super vigilant about our freedom, because that's what our country stands for is freedom. We have to be super vigilant about it, because in the UK, they're not free right now.
Yeah, I've got a couple friends in the UK, and one of them came here to pay a visit to our neighborhood, out here in Southern California. And he and his friend took me out to dinner. They're both from England, and they were telling me all the stuff that's going on. Now, look, I'm a very international person. I've been around the world, worked in a lot of other places, so I'm very culturally savvy. And I say that, I don't mean like I'm good at eating, but it's a developed professional skill. And what they were saying to me was, I was like, no, that seems too much. And I struggled to understand what they were saying because it didn't make any sense. But
because you almost that sounds like propaganda. That sounds like not real propaganda.
Right.
That sounds like you just are like, I can't believe that. I can't believe that. But then it's all
Yeah.
coming out now. Like the whole
Mm,
country now is starting to talk about it, and court
yeah.
records are coming out and cover-ups, and the British politicians do not want an inquiry. They keep denying an inquiry when the whole freaking country is saying,
Yeah.
we want an inquiry into this. We want to know who covered this up. We want to know what happened. And then the politicians are like, no, no, no. And it's like, well, why? Why no? I mean, okay,
Yeah.
there's a
It's
reason why you don't want people to know what you were covering up.
yeah. It's crazy. I mean, you really look at the big world, and how it all is and everything. In 2022, the Japanese prime minister was assassinated. Justin Trudeau has done such a bad job that he's not going to be the prime minister anymore. There's a
Yeah,
lot of upheaval going on.
crazy.
And there are a lot of things where you see the obvious reason, and again, like I don't know what's going on in all these cases. I know some of what's going on in some of these cases, but you see these things that are like that is a sign of a lot of reckoning. Maybe the pendulum is swinging in a different direction. I don't know, but one of the things we have seen is we're struggling to, and I'm saying this in the nicest way, inculcate that cult word is there. It's the same root, right? But we're seeing societies struggle to bring these people in a way that makes sense, so that you're not talking about Sharia law, because now people are going to worry about these things. And I'm going to a bigger point here. So we're seeing evidence of all these things. It's hard to know what's real. We're not always fed honest answers in the press. And then I just think, again, I don't know Mark Zuckerberg. He wouldn't take my call if I was allowed to call him, right? That whole thing. The same thing is true for almost everything in my life. And I have a lot of friends, a lot of people, and I'm very connected to a lot of people, right? And they matter to me. But when I think about the work I have to do to maintain my own world, gosh, I don't know that I have time to care who the president is, or who my representative is, or who my senator is, or, I can care about the things that I can put effort into. I don't try not to worry about the things that I can't. And that sounds like pretty based and everything, but I'm a based dude. And I'm like, why do I even care? Who the president, it makes very little difference to me who that person is.
Well, I think that goes back to putting our heads in the sand. Like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to know, and at this moment in time, I think we've been able to do that for like a long time, and it's been pretty okay. But we also have to realize the United States is not a super old country. Like, it hasn't been around for thousands of years. Like, I'll just say Italy, because I'm Italian. Like, they've been through a lot of different things. So like the US is this new country, and it's and our forefathers were so brilliant about how they set it up with checks and balances to protect us. Like, thank God for the fathers, because with all of these people, we'd be a hot mess. Okay. We'd be a third world country. No, seriously, like our forefathers, thank you guys. It's brilliant. And America's an amazing country, because I'm also a European citizen as well. I'm an Italian citizen. So I live in Europe half the time, and I'm seeing what's happening there too. And what I feel like is they just gave all of their power to the government. And now the government can do whatever it wants to these people. And they're very reliant on the government. And here it was going in that direction as well. And it has been, because again, we're busy with our lives. We're busy with our family. We got to make money. We got to, we're concentrated on all these other things. And then you just put your head in the sand. And then also, I think a huge problem is people really got addicted to virtue signaling. And they weren't really looking at what is real and what is fake. What is the illusion and what's really going on? Because my intuition, when I listen to some of these people, goes, BS. BS. You could be, it's kind of like when you go out with a guy and they just want to sleep with you, and they're like, oh, you're so beautiful. You're so amazing. I would marry you right now. It's like, that's how I look at it. You got to be really careful about the people that talk to you all nicely, because then what are they doing in the back? And so I think people are going to have to wake up to that and stop being so naive, and really get get aware of what these people are doing, what's going on. Follow your intuition and not just virtue signaling. And I just think also it's funny, the virtue signaling just drives me nuts because it's like, you know, these people that want to talk about all these things and activism, but then it's like, do you volunteer? Do you tutor like underprivileged kids? Like, what are you doing? If you're not doing anything, then it's like, don't talk to me about it. Like,
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And I think we're actually pretty close on this. Even if we disagree a little bit, I think it's civilly so, certainly collegially so. But when I'm talking about, like, I'm going to manage the things that I do. Like, okay, am I worried about the climate? A little bit, right? But I'm not a climatologist. I'm not an entrepreneur looking to work in the green space. There's a whole lot of I'm nots that would be entry areas for me to go and worry about and do something about it. That's just not my bailiwick, right? It doesn't mean that I'm not concerned. It doesn't mean I have my head in the sand, but it does mean that I've got a full plate. And to get on my plate, you're going to have to move something. Someone else is going to take something off my plate, or I'm going to have to finish something and slide in a very narrow wedge, that little thing. And I have my own things, right? I'm pretty hard on activists, by the way, because they don't know how to win. They don't know how to win. It's like, hey, we've done a great job here. All right, everybody, go find a new cause. No. There's never enough. until we get to zero of that thing, we're going to burn it all down until we get to zero. You're like, calm down a little bit, Yeah, like, altruism, virtue signaling, activism. These are things that on the surface seem great. Look, I've worked overseas a lot. I've seen a lot of the U.S. government and our partners making bad decisions, things that sound great. We're going to bring fresh water to this valley. They've never had it. Well, how'd they get here if they don't have clean water? I mean, they've been here for all of time. What do you mean they don't have water? Of course they have water. You're saying clean water. Oh, but they're here. They're not dying from poison. How are they living? And then, by the way, so here's the thing, right? These things always sound great. We always say, like, oh, that briefs well, but it's not real. If you bring fresh water to a place that's never had fresh water in a million years, where does the wastewater go? Well, that's a problem for a different day. And it's like, oh, so you want more poison, more access to more poison. Like when they have any kind of wastewater, you have to be able to process it. And so, this is a cycle. And when you say that to somebody who's altruistic, who's idealistic and not practical, then they get upset with you because you made the problem hard. If you want more people to take buses, then make buses less scary. Buses aren't efficient if they terrify. Like, do you want to go ride an LA bus by yourself anywhere, any time of the day, ever?
Never, ever, 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 ever.
Right.
I did it one time with my friends when I was younger because we were
one time you got cured.
Like before Uber, and we were drinking, and they were like, "Let's do it. It'll be an adventure." It was so creepy. It was. I had this one guy do the weirdest thing. Like I can't even imitate what he did to me. And then after that, and that was actually when LA was like safe. That's actually when it was like, working pretty well and safe. Now, I mean, that would be like a death sentence, or you like are trying to get assaulted or something.
Yeah. And the thing is, and I've learned this, the specter of violence is always bigger than the actual threat of violence, right? But that doesn't mean that in a city as gigantic as LA, because when you say LA, you're talking Altadena, which was on fire, all the way to Palisades, which, as you know, these things are nowhere near each other.
No.
If you were in the wrong bus at the wrong time, at the wrong day, with the wrong crazy person, it is the most dangerous place on earth because you are the one who's imperiled, or having to withstand something that you don't like. The next time I see some kind of pervert lecturizing young girls on a bus or a train, won't be the first, and guaranteed won't be the last. And so we have these problems that someone will say, well, trains are more efficient or buses are more efficient. Like, no, they're not, because it doesn't respond to what Giovanna needs. And because of that, cars are the better solution because they handle more of the things better, more efficiently than a bus or a car can. But if you say that to the bus people, they get mad because they want you to take a damn bus because it's the most efficient way to get around. Like, it doesn't work for you.
Exactly, because it's pure like common sense and safety. For instance, back in the day, another thing I don't do anymore here is, I live in a very nice community, and I have a beach cruiser, and I would always take my bike to the beach path and ride along there. And I mean, I would do this every weekend, and it was like one of the things that gave me the most joy. I just loved it. And I did it all the time by myself. Now, even in the day, I'm talking about in the day now, I would not do it because there's so many creepy people on the beach. There's so many homeless people that might be on drugs or crazy. And I mean, I'm a little person. So, I mean, you just push me. It'd be easy just to run up to me and push me over. I'm not going too fast on my bike. Like I'm not that athletic, So, it's dangerous. And it upsets me that I've lived here for so long. And one of my favorite things that I love to do, I can't do anymore because it's not safe.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw this in Europe too. I felt very unsafe in like cities like Barcelona. Never felt unsafe there before, but now it's like
Let me ask you this, because this is a thing I've noticed. A previous love in my life, we were traveling around Europe, and dudes could not. Now, look, she's beautiful. She's very curvaceous, all the nice things, right? Dudes could not keep their hands. I mean, people in uniform, police officers, everybody, a doctor, fondled her all of the time. And she's like, she's like, look, dudes are animals. You guys can't keep your hands off of girls anyhow. But he's like, it was so bad for her in Europe that she's like, I don't want to go back to Europe anymore. And I'm not just talking a hand on her butt, but her breasts and everything.
No way. Where?
Yes. Yeah. A couple of places, Paris, Italy. And, and she just constantly was getting tweaked.
When was this?
2009 we went, 2010 we went. Yeah. And it was pretty constant. And she's not like she's
that's really strange. I mean, I know back in the day, they would this is before I was born and became a woman, but they would like pinch girls' butts and stuff like that. They would do that kind of stuff. But
well, it's good to hear that you haven't experienced that. That's the main thing.
Yeah, no, I have not experienced that at all. Flirting, coming up and talking to you, but not grabbing.
Remember that we're talking about like minor assaults here. Like when you put your hand on someone's breasts, it's like, come on. And I would be right there in all these cases. Like they would be doing this because I did not have access to it. Like I'm standing 3 people away at a bar or whatever. And I'm just like, what in the world is going on? And she would like, get your hands off of me. It was crazy.
I feel like, especially back in the day, it was very respectful. And I felt always respected. I never felt
that's good.
Strange or bad. No. Now I just worry about being like pickpocketed. I worry about, I did get followed. That's this nice. Last time I was there by a guy for like 30 minutes, but I did stay in like the main areas. And then eventually I figured out how to get him to go away. But that's
what does it take for you to feel safe? Like if LA made an effort, and look, I'm not saying they don't make an effort already, but I know a couple things about living in Southern California. We love a good car chase, but we never see or hear, like open forum, what happened to that person? Like, did they go to jail? Whatever it is. It's like, oh, that's all right to do. We all get entertained by it. It's funny when they do funny things, and it's almost kind of like a comedy at times. But I never hear the consequences of this very dangerous behavior that takes a lot of resources. Like, sometimes there'll be 10 cops and a helicopter following around. There's multiple helicopters in the air. Anything can happen.
Well,
but we never hear like, oh, and that person went to jail for 10 years. We never hear that part of it. So you're left to go, did they go to jail at all? Is this a misdemeanor? Like so many things just don't seem to get prosecuted.
You feel
and you just see more and more crime.
Go ahead. I feel like now you very much need to protect yourself. Like I've never bought mace in my life. I have mace now. And I was even contemplating getting the taser too, just to have that as well. This was after COVID, after COVID, I went to Venice Beach to go to brunch with a friend. And I was, and this is. Anyway, so I was parking my car and this lady's walking up to me. And at first she looked normal. And then I saw she was like tweaked out or something. Yeah. And she had a knife. She knifed the back of my car. And I was so angry, but then I had to remind myself, hey, at least it was your car and not your body.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, then get this, the irony of all of this, right? No police, no nobody. Then I'm driving back home. I'm on the, Lincoln Boulevard. I'm at a red light. My phone's like right down here. So my mom just messaged me or something. I pick up my phone and I just look at it. And then I put my phone down.
Woo!
Mom was right here. Yeah. Pulled me over.
Yeah.
And gave me a ticket.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where?
But you were being unsafe.
Where? And I said, I wasn't driving and looking at my phone. I was at a stoplight. You were right there. You saw me. I put my phone down and I was still at the stoplight. And then I went. And then he goes, well, you just can't even pick up your phone. Oh my God.
I don't think is the law at all. I don't think that is the actual law.
I don't even know. But they gave me a ticket. I was so pissed off. I was like, wow, you're letting people like knife people's properties and probably bodies. But oh, God forbid you pick up your phone in your car. It's things like that here that people are fed up with. And I think people in more expensive communities were able to just turn a blind eye and go into their expensive community and feel like they were okay. But you had to have still felt it because if let's say you want to go to lunch in Santa Monica or something, you're surrounded by homeless people. And I mean, it's not, and I'm talking about people that are pulling down their pants. I'm talking about people that are saying sexual things. I'm talking about, and there's kids walking around.
Right.
I always get pissed off and I'm like, why aren't these families fighting? This is ridiculous. This is like inappropriate to bring your kids in this situation. And so for me to feel safe, you got to fix this homeless problem. Yeah. That is one of the biggest issues we have here is you got to get these people help. You got to remove them from our streets. You have to, because they're not, a lot of them are on the streets because they want to be. Yeah. It's not because they just don't have housing. It's because they want to be.
Yeah. It is. Gosh, I mean, you're nailing it. All of it. When you said you went to Venice, you saw me giggle because I'm like, I am not opposed to going to Venice, but I'm not going to go to Venice for any just willy-nilly reason. I don't live right down the street from there, but I know you were going to encounter someone who is mentally insane and dangerous, or you're gonna get panhandled and approached and all that. Whatever, like that's part of the color of the place, as long as you don't feel unsafe.
It used to be, that's how it used to be. It's not like that anymore. It's not some.
So I'm not surprised at all that someone pulled a knife, and as soon as someone pulls a knife, you're right. It's like, scratch my car all you want. I'm leaving, and good luck calling a cop at that point because they can't respond to all that.
It's like, I guess, and I mean, people have been, just girls that I know in Marina Del Rey have been punched in the face by a homeless person, have been assaulted by a homeless person. There are people that have been stabbed and robbed by homeless people. So how many people need to go through that before you actually do something?
That's a fair question.
Like, how does everybody in society need to be assaulted before? I guess it has to happen to us before we care. That's the sick thing about this. And that's what the Palisades fire is showing you, because I'm telling you, if this fire was just in Altadena, I could care. These people would probably care less. And I know that sounds cruel, but I'm just being honest.
but there is going to be some kind of
oops, you know, but now that it's the Palisades, it's a big problem. Like my mom's best friend lost her home in Paradise in that fire. They lost their business. They lost multiple homes. And I mean, these are middle-class people, you know, and they lost everything. Nobody cared about that. Nobody did. That wasn't all over the news. That wasn't all. I mean, I'm getting every day getting messages from Italy. I mean, I mean, everybody in Italy is like messaging me, like all of my family there and my friends there. And, you know, my dad's like great aunt and stuff. I mean, that's how publicized this is. This is all over the world because it hit Hollywood and Palisades. But if Altadena got taken down, nobody would.
And Altadena is nice. I mean,
I know there's nothing wrong with Altadena, you know, but I'm just saying.
Right. Well, this just people understand, like there's multi-million-dollar homes that are just regular homes there, right? Because it is a very nice place to live. But you're right, there is a different thing. And you know this is more for the audience, but when you go to neighborhoods like Brentwood and Hollywood and Beverly Hills and all these Palisades, for sure, you have a lot of very successful show business people. Hollywood Hills, full of people. You would never know their names, but you would know the work that they've done, and they've got gorgeous homes. So, and these guys don't live in gated communities. You can drive through. They might have a 15-foot tall hedge around their house, but that's for privacy security kind of thing. But you'll notice that you can't park for very long in these neighborhoods because it's dangerous for them. And so they have powerful influence. When their neighborhood burns down, I guarantee you there's going to be some accountability, not from the fucking mayor or the governor. I mean, look, I don't take those folks seriously. They messed up. This is on both of their heads. You cannot have, if it turns out that there were infrastructure things for the municipalities that did not work, like the Santa Ana's, I get that. Fire, I get that. Someone being a firebug and saying this is the perfect time, I get all of that. But when you aren't able to respond as the state, and I'm saying the state being the government entity, if you can't do that, that's your ass right there. And I cannot believe that with all that money, with all the lobbying and the power that these guys have, all the support and everything else that they give, that there's not going to be a serious, call for like, hey, get the hell out of here. I mean, I saw a video, again, I watched the whole thing of the mayor of LA, and they were asking her questions and she had no answers. She got clammed up, and I was like, oh no. She didn't have anything scripted, so she didn't know how to respond. And maybe she's great off scripted, but this is a time for crisis. This is a time to stand up and be a great governor, be a great mayor. And I haven't, I give a lot of leeway. These are hard places to lead, very, very hard. I get all of that. But when the bill comes due, you've got to be able to communicate. You've got to be able to create calm for you. Like now, I don't know if you live in LA proper, is like where you don't got to say anything, but if that's your mayor, who feels safer now?
No, it's how I feel. I feel I'm on my own here. You better protect yourself. You walk around with mace, possibly going to get a taser. I'm like, I've told you, I never had mace. I used to bike on the beach every day. I don't anymore because I'm intuitive, and I know when something doesn't feel right, when I could be putting myself into danger. And so a lot of my freedoms have been taken away just out of pure things aren't as safe as they used to be.
Yeah.
And the thing is people can virtue signal all they want, and you can ignore it, and be selfish until it happens to you or it happens to your kids. And then you go, oh, hell no, but eventually it will reach the top because like the selfishness will rise to the top because it's like, because if these politicians are saying they're going to do things and acting like they care and then they don't, eventually that's going to show up. Right. So it was just kind of like the people maybe that didn't have a lot of money or weren't in the best areas that were getting hurt, but then it's rising up. And then, so yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. It's definitely.
It is. It is. So when you think about your brand, the confused girl, the city vibe, and everything else that you put out on your Instagram. By the way, congratulations on that huge following you have. That's incredible. You're definitely reaching hearts, because it's one thing to buy a bunch of followers, but you haven't done that. Like, you can see thousands of interactions when you post. You have this important messaging platform. So how do you help? Because this, we're talking about LA, right? But
Yeah,
this could be Chicago. This is for sure is San Francisco. Look, I love San Francisco. I
me
am
too.
from the Bay. I know people in San Francisco, and they're like, we avoid those parts. There's very nice parts of town where there's no real trouble at all, but they avoid the parts that are crazy. And just for people to understand, like, San Francisco will lean where it's very tolerant, and then it becomes inhumane, and you're like, this is like, you cannot have, and I've seen this, gay dudes who are naked barbecuing on Market Street. Like, that's like, oh, you've gone over the line, right? Like, you're welcome to do that up on Castro, but you cannot do that on Market. Go back up the hill a little bit, right? And that's like sort of how they roll. And so it gets crazy, and you start losing businesses. And so people who live there are like, I can't stay here because
That's hard. It's the San Francisco thing's really difficult for me because my grandmother, who is full-blooded Irish from Ireland, grew up in San Francisco. Okay. And loved
sure,
that
yeah,
city. And that city was a city of Italian immigrants, Irish immigrants, Chinese
Portuguese,
immigrants,
everything.
and then a lot more different people came in, but like the bulk of it was those ones, right? And they really built
Yeah,
that city, and they loved that city, and they respected that city, and that city was a safe city, and they cared about their homes and their community and everything. And now it's like, what happened in San Francisco is it was like a 4-year period where the tech came in and bought up, people sold their property. So half of the city sold their properties to tech people and left the city and went to like Marin County and all, other parts of the Bay Area. So the demographic of that city literally changed in a matter of like a few years. And it went from people that had roots there, that took care of it, to people that are transient and didn't grow up there, don't have any roots there, don't care. And
yeah,
you can see that what they've allowed to be done with it. You can see they don't care, because
yeah,
those old school people would not have let this happen.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't want to act like San Francisco was the safest place of all time. They've got cops for a reason. There's parts of San Francisco that have always been dangerous, and just like any big city. But there is a general lawlessness where it's like there is no help. Like, it's one thing to have like to have a big, beautiful city with lots of different cultures and everything. It means you're going to have some crime. Things that happen in Chinatown couldn't happen anywhere else. They'd be illegal, but that's like a little enclave of China, right? And that's neat, because you go in there and you're like, I'm in a whole new world. You look around and you're like,
Yeah.
you're like, look, I found a comb, whatever. But it is different now. Like, this is not the last time, and it's been 3 years since this trip. But I got off the ferry and I walked uphill to where I was going, and every single garbage can along that route, and this is early. I got there early in the day, had been knocked over during the night. Every single garbage can, and it was garbage day. And so there was garbage and trash cans just laid out for over a mile. People, I mean, that takes a lot of drunken work to do that, but also means there's no accountability. There's no policing. If you have, right.
There's no respect in
Well,
society. Society has lost respect for like everything. It makes me so sad, because if our politicians and the city of Los Angeles respected us, they wouldn't allow men to walk around with their pants down in front of children on, Ocean Avenue and Santa Monica Boulevard.
Yeah.
If
you're gonna see someone naked. Automatic. You're gonna see someone naked.
you're going to see someone going to the bathroom, pulling their pants down. You're going to see something. And it's like, where's your respect for the other? That's why also you see just so much flakiness with people. They say, oh yeah, we're going to do something, and then they don't follow through, and it's like, there's a flakiness and a disrespect that's like come into society.
Yeah.
And you see it in everything, because if you don't have respect for yourself and you don't have respect for your neighbor, then you don't have respect for your streets. You don't have respect for the homeless, because even to see
Yeah.
someone doing that, that's mentally ill, it's disrespectful for them too. Like, that's a mentally ill person that needs to be put somewhere, you know? So it's just like this gigantic, like, disrespect of our society. And for me, it's so frustrating because, you know, maybe that's an Italian thing. We're all about respect, but I'm like really respect.
Yeah. I was walking, I was in Santa Monica, I was doing a show, and just, right downtown. And, Santa Monica is crazy because you can absolutely see a naked, crazy homeless person, whatever, describe any kind of impossible situation. And then you will see the future. You will see a little robot car trundling down the road for some kind of, tech startup. And you're like, this is amazing. And then 100% true, you'll see a wreck of a human who is just surviving. And this is not judgmental. This is just an actual thing. Surviving on vodka. That's what they need to live. They live under like a tarp, and they're just in one little pod right by the grocery store, and someone throws them a couple bucks to go outside. They get a little bit of food, smearing off wherever it's going to be, and come back out. They get under their tarp, and that's their life. And sure enough, while I'm watching this whole thing happen, I see caseworkers come out and they talk to this person. And so we're trying, but we're not succeeding. And we've gathered so much inhumanity, through our policies and everything. And I want California to be a tolerant place. I love that about that. And it's not supposed to be easy to have all these different things, but we have to get better at dealing with the problems that we invite. Because if we don't, then people leave, businesses leave. We're not a healthy state in terms of that. We have so much money here. We have ports, plenty. Like most states only have one port. We have plenty of ports. We have great military backing, all these other things.
Yeah.
But we can't seem to manage our own money, and we can't manage our water law. I mean, I don't know if you know much about the water wars, but it is crazy how complicated these things are.
I've watched some stuff on the news, but
it's hard. And I'll say this too, and this gets back to respect. We make sure that everybody's rights are heard for. Like, and I'll use the Sierra Club as an example. They are a wonderful little group of people that are like, hey, the little people matter. The businesses and the trees that all folks, that they all matter. And so we're going to fight like demons to make sure that we protect these things and hold the government accountable so they don't just rubber stamp stuff. However, there's 1,000 of these things, and they're always like, we're going to sue you. We're going to sue you. We're going to sue. And so like, well, now we can't have a train. We can't improve the trains. We can't do anything because everybody's rights are so heavily fought for that nothing ever gets done. And here's what this has done for us. And tell me what you think about this, Giovanna. We're so protective of rights and so fractured, so diverse that we've calcified into a very conservative place where you can't rebuild your home in the Palisades. You can't rebuild your home in Malibu because there are too many lawsuits and it becomes so expensive. It's like, well, that's just not worth my time. And that money and that dream and everything else leaves until something else happens. How am I doing?
I think you are so right on. And then my wheels are spinning, and it's interesting because, it's like, with the rights thing, like giving everybody their rights, you're taking away rights of other people to feel safe in their community. Just right. Going back to the homeless thing. Well, why don't they round up like the homeless and then take them somewhere to get them mental help? And you could build a facility. I mean, California is huge. We have so much open land. They could build like a whole town for them, really, like a whole facility.
Just have Crazy Town.
And call it Crazy Town, But I mean, they could build that for them, but you'd have to take somebody against their will to put them there, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, you can't do that because that's taking away their rights. Well, but now you are also taking away my right to walk down the street and not be assaulted, not get stabbed, not get punched in the face, not have to see someone going to the bathroom in front of me on the ground, and fear of taking your family around and your children because of all of this havoc. Because they could just really run up to you and stab you and run away. And then the police don't go after them at all. Like you're basically on your own. It's like the Wild West out here. And it's not working.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. When you want the homeless problem to come to us because we think we can handle it. And then when you don't handle it, then yeah, there's a problem, right? And it has to be dealt with. And I don't know anybody who's stoked about the progress that's been promised and not delivered on. So yeah, something has to change. And you're 100% right. We've changed the name from like bums to whatever to this to that to unhoused. And this is not a housing problem. Matter of fact, these people, a lot of them, don't reject that help, whether they should or not, whether they have the mental capacity to or not. It's not a simple problem. And when you meet the people and you talk to them, and I've had some on the show, when they go day to day out and meet these people and understand why they're homeless and what their problems are, they are not big problems like a house. It's very immediate problems like the trauma that they've experienced or whatever it is. And to get that person to reliably make the same good decision 20 times in a row is beyond their capacity. And so we're talking about people that were healthy, were thriving in the best case, right? There's people that are have way less capacity, but they have, if you say here, like do this path 100 times and you will be a little bit higher up in terms of like being stable and secure. They cannot reliably do it. And that's where they're broken. And nobody has the answer for that. How do you un-PTSD somebody? How do you unsexually assault someone? How do you all these problems until they're like, everybody's against me, everybody hates me, and all they ever do is fuck with me. And so fuck them, I'm going to do my own thing. And they're ultimately like in a lot of ways, the freest people. Like I saw a car chase, and it was a couple of homeless dudes who had stolen a U-Haul. This is maybe like a year ago. And the cops backed off like they normally do. And then they let them go because they're like, oh, that's Larry and Dave. Those guys are fine. And so they walked around, and then they just, because they don't eat and they're not very healthy, they just kind of laid down and just like, this is where I'm going to sleep tonight. And so they came and got them, right? And this sounds like a caricature, right? So we've gotten good.
I mean, it's kind of funny,
It is, but
like
that is where we're at, is where we have people that are so broken and so unmanageable that we sort of just let them manage themselves. And we're like, yeah, what are we going to do? Put this guy in jail? Then he creates a problem there. So I'm not saying they let them go, but they're already in the system. And they already
there really has to be a thing where they build a mental health facility and they're taken there and they're kept there, even if it's a jail-like, because it's like, well, what's the other option? Keep assaulting and hurting people and hurting society? That should not be.
I don't know what the other option is.
And I get this because I get this so well. So my parents owned an Italian restaurant in San Luis Obispo, like for 30 something years. Like I grew up in my restaurant, and our bartender, his name's Giovanni. So like the male version of my name. And he was like this 60-year-old man, and he actually lived with us. He would wake up in the morning with my dad and go to the restaurant, and he was like Uncle Giovanni. Yeah. So we didn't know this when he first moved in, but Uncle Giovanni, we found out is bipolar. And he's originally from Sardinia, and he was such a beautiful man. Like he's so sweet. And like my dad loved him. It was like my dad's like brother, became like a brother. He's like part of the family. But when he would go off his medication and he'd go manic, I mean, we woke up one morning and he had taken all of my mom's like plates and pots and pans and like put them all over the living room. And then he got out the bleach and he was trying to bleach everything. And my mom's like, he has to go. Like he could burn down the house. He could do something crazy. So my dad's like, okay. So then, and it's so funny. So then he became eventually he became homeless. And he didn't want housing. Like he wanted to roam around and be homeless. And it's so funny. He would go eat at other restaurants and he would tell everybody that Joe, my dad, would pay for his meals. And my dad did for like years. My dad would just pay all of his meals, like pay all because he loved him so much. Or when he came in our restaurant, he was like a total homeless person. He smelled, he was all disheveled. And my dad would like feed him and be like, I think you need to get on your medication. He literally tried to burn down a phone booth and he got thrown into jail. And he called me. He called the restaurant and I picked it up and he's like, Giovanna, this is Giovanni. He's like, come get me out of jail. I'll give you some money. I hid some money. And I was like, Giovanni, bye. Yeah. He was kind of like our town character. Like everybody loved him and knew him because we knew he was just crazy and would go crazy sometimes. Right. So it was really sad, but it was like, what he needed was somebody to take him to a mental health facility and make him take his medication for the
Right.
safety of the
Right.
society and for his own safety. What ended up happening is we finally got him to go back to Italy to go be with his cousins, and they take care of him, and he's on medication there.
You exported him. Hey, you know what? Yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah, because how many people did it take to manage his life? You know, in a loving way.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it takes.
it was unmanageable because he was off his meds and he was off.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like what so when the government, and I'm not trying to be against the government here. I am trying to say these things, but like this is, I don't want that job. But when you look at like what it takes to love and care for someone who is incapable of reliably taking care of themselves, sure, stay on your meds, right? Nice and easy. But I'm bipolar and I'm not going to do that. I feel fine. I feel everybody wants to be better. And so he thinks he's better. I know bipolar people. I know how this works. And they're like, nope, I have to take. And if you don't have that extra bit of grasp of reality and stay to you don't. And so the thing like, we'll build more homes. Like, no, they're the opposite of a person who wants to go to a home. They don't want to be in your home. They don't want to have your schedule. They don't want to have the food that you serve. They don't want to go to your group therapy sessions. They don't want to do those things because they aren't that sick. And so they become these, even again, freer than other people because they're like, I don't have to abide by these norms. And, our approach here is to spend a bunch of money and get bad results.
Our approach here is spend a bunch of money and someone's stealing it and nothing is getting resolved.
No one's ever stolen money, Giovanna. That's not true.
Someone's enjoying all those billions. I'm like,
oh
throw some over here because I have to deal with this. My car got knifed. Fix that.
Oh, come on. I mean, it's so easy to get your window broken or whatever it is. My brother passed away. His chair, he had two cars that he cherished, and one of them was stolen out of the driveway. And the next time they saw it, when I say stripped it, they didn't take the wheels, they took everything. And it was just a frame of the car left, just in a parking lot, And so I know so many people that have these stories. Like, you should never have a story of, if you live outside of the city, it should never be that you're like, oh yeah, my car got stolen. Like it's just, but it happens all the time. Here's the thing. Here's how you know what's weird is when you leave California and you go to Arkansas. I'm picking states at random here. Arizona. You go to Ohio. They're like, how do you live there? Do you carry a gun with you wherever you go? It sounds crazy there. I would never go there anymore. And you're like, it's really sweet, really, ultimately. I mean, there's things I put up with, and I'm defending all of a sudden how crazy we are to these people. And I'm like, no, it's a great, and it really is. California is wonderful.
It's beautiful.
Except taxes and wasted money. I mean, this big, beautiful, profitable state cannot balance its books. I saw on the news, I won't say which channel it was, but we watch the same channels because we're in the same region. And they said to my face, and everybody else in LA is watching, the reason why our gas prices are so high is because the oil companies are gouging us and we live on a gas island. And I'm like, you dumb motherfucker. Sorry, it just makes me mad. There were oil derricks on the beach in the 50s and 60s. They were pumping. There's oil. What do you think the La Brea tar pits are full of? It's full of fuel that can be burned. You can look at it. There's a lake of it downtown LA.
I've literally sat on the beach multiple times and I've gotten up and there was like tar stuck on my pants that I wasn't able to get.
It's right there. Don't tell me there's none of it. Like, it just drives me so crazy. And it's such bad policy. Like, we can absolutely process it cleaner, more safer. We can pay people a great wage to go do that. We need oil. We're acting like we don't need oil. Everything in our lives is made from oil. I mean, we wouldn't survive in the same way without it. So now we're going to go buy it from Asia and Africa. And I don't know if you know this, but oil tankers. And there's a lot of big ships like this. But they pollute more than all of us combined. One ship will negate all of the electric cars, all of our gas cars. That's how much they pollute. And so that's what we do to get our oil here. And so
then that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? That's like counterintuitive.
Yeah. And then when you look at like we have to turn our electricity off to manage the flow of it because we get too much of it, and also to manage it during windstorms and to maintain it. And we don't want to lose it, but we're going to put more reliance on that system that we all agree is outdated. But there's 100-year-old wires that have aren't as safe as they used to be, and so we're going to rely on more. And so I just don't understand those parts of look. And again, these jobs are very hard, but when you look at everything that we do, gosh, we make a lot of crazy decisions.
I think the respect and safety of the citizens, that are here, that pay the taxes,
Yeah.
I think that should be first and foremost. Safety and just respect for everyone. And, it's everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's what we have lost. I really do think it's big. Let's go back to the original value system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lost the value system, and then they want a virtue signal. Without the value system, everything's crumbled. Like your foundation is built on nada. So go back to treat your neighbors the way you want to be treated. Respect for yourself, respect for others, respect for society.
Yeah. None of that sounds crazy to me. That all sounds normal. Let me tell you a thing I learned in Afghanistan. So we were trying to create security stability there, right? And so I'm talking. One of my jobs when I'm spying is to find out is this shit working? Because if it's not, you want to know about it. You want to fix it. And so I found out what security was. So security is, can the man leave his house, go to his job, and come home unmolested? Yes. All right. That's the first thing. When he leaves his house, will his compound, his home, his family, will they be safe in their dwelling? Yes. That's the second element, right? Only then could you send your kids out to school because you know that the dad can travel, the home is safe, and then down the road to the school will be safe as well. If you didn't have those three elements, you didn't have security in the villages. And I tested this across a wide space, because once I learned it, I was like, oh, this must be the formula. And maybe there's more elements of the formula, but it's already hard to get those three things locked in. And I feel like when I hear you talking about it, when I know my impression of parts of town, because I get around a lot of places, I'm like, I wouldn't feel safe here. When I walk around and my spy skill goes off and I'm like, all right, I have to be careful here, right? I have to pay more attention. I'm like, no, I'm a big dude. I'm a big, strong guy. If I'm looking around thinking I got to be ready in case something happens, there's no way you're going to feel safe. And so that it violates those three laws that we don't have safety and security. It doesn't matter if it's there. It matters if you believe it's there. It's not like, well, there's cops everywhere. Like, yeah, I haven't seen one, Who's going to help me right now? If some guy walks up with a knife and says, take off your clothes or whatever it's going to be, right? Who's going to help you? Do you believe that help is coming?
Exactly. Yeah, no, I know. And that's why I got my mace. I'm probably going to get a taser too. Watch out, people. You have a spicy little Irish Italian walking around with mace and taser. Wrong girl.
Get yourself some bear spray too, because bear spray shoots about 30 feet.
Oh, really?
You want to have a can of that. You don't got to walk around with it. It's huge, but in your car, you open that up, and you might get hit a little bit too. So you got to when you spray it. If you're in your car, get it out of your car and then blast it, and then roll your window back up. Because nobody wants bear spray in their face. It's
oh my gosh! Yeah, no, exactly. I do have to say, just one place I do find so lovely, well kept, and there's literally no crime is Manhattan Beach. Because Manhattan Beach has all their own system and they take care of their community. So you'll never see a crazy homeless people.
There's lots of great beaches in Southern California. You're right.
Yeah. There's certain spots where the community is they're not letting LA run it. They run it. Right. And they're not putting up with any nonsense and they're protecting their citizens. And I'm really close to Manhattan Beach, so I go there a lot. And I was walking back to my car at 1:30 a.m. because, I was out. And I thought, wow, I feel so safe here. I would not feel this safe if I was Marina Del Rey, Santa Monica.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I mean, it's gotten worse. I haven't been over. So I'm trying not to pinpoint too many places here, but there is a place where you and I would both have stood in that parking lot. It's a shopping center area, very common to see things, very common places. Okay. And it was getting worse. Like it was creeping in, whatever that thing is. And my friends that are down there are like, it is not safe here anymore. They don't feel safe at certain parts of the day or in certain parts of the town. And this is it's a wealthy area. It should be well regulated, but even then it was creeping in. And I have not been over to that part of town, but partly because I'm like, I just don't want to go deal with that. Over here, I know for sure, closer to home and that's not my home, but my friend's home. It's going to be fine. So there's no reason to go to that other place that we would normally go to. And this is impacting business, right? I'm making a business decision based on the perception of someone who lives around that area who no longer goes to that area.
Yeah, see?
That's how damaging it is.
Yeah,
right?
that's how it's totally damaging to the businesses. It's damaging to everything. It's not right. It's not fair. It's wacky. It's completely wacky and it needs to end. And I travel a lot. Like half of the time I'm living in Europe. So I'm not here all the time. I don't have children. So I don't have to be out and about with the kids and stuff. And I remember being in Santa Monica a long time ago. This was even a few years back. And I thought, when are these people going to stand up and say enough is enough? Like when, because I was like, I don't have to come here. I don't have children that go to school here and are subjected to this. If I did, I would leave. I would have moved out if I had kids because it's just so not cool for them to see that stuff and not have that.
Well, you don't feel empowered or enfranchised, right?
Yeah, no, you feel like you are literally in, and I'm telling you, I lived in third world countries. Like I lived in Indonesia. I lived in Bali and I lived in Thailand too. I did not see homeless people. There was nobody's leftovers on the street. Like I did not see that ever. I would see like a dead rat on the street or something. And there'd be like potholes. You got to be careful. Like you don't walk into a pothole, but never saw crazy homeless people. Never saw, no.
Yeah. You can go to all kinds of parts of this.
On the street. I'm like, no one's going to the bathroom on the street. Like I literally.
What a high bar.
I mean, it's so crazy. In third world countries, I'm not seeing this, but I'm seeing this in the most expensive cities in the world. San Francisco here. I'm sure it happens in New York. I didn't see it in New York, but I saw it here many times. I saw it in San Francisco many times. So it's like that. I literally thought to myself, I'm like, well, I'm lucky because I just get to rent my place out because I put it on Airbnb and rent out and get the hell out of here. But I'm like, you people that have your families here, when are y'all going to stand up? I'm curious. Like, I really was like, this is so weird because if it was me with a family here, oh my gosh, I would be livid. And I thought to myself, when are these people going to stand up? Well, guess what? All of the Palisades had to get burned down for them to stand up. I think now.
If they do, right? I mean, wait till they all have to go to the permit office to get permitted. Oh
my God. So I know. And the California like Coastal Commission is like, actually.
Yeah. No, they're designed to not allow things to get built, right? And we asked for that, by the way. We said we have to protect these parts of the environment. And so that is what we get. And by the way, California Coastal Commission and the coast isn't like 40 feet. It can go back indefinitely. If you can see the water, you are within their purview. Right.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And then there's the Army Corps of Engineers. If you put a shovel into the ground, you have to have their sign off. And I'm not saying that the Army Corps of Engineers is a problem, but that is a hurdle when you want to build a high-end home on the beach, because that's what these things were, or can be now. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a real problem to get these things done. So yeah, it's interesting. We have barely talked about your stuff. Sarah,
the last thing I want to say is like, play with the devil long enough, you'll end up in hell.
Yeah. So I want to. This is Giovanna's book. It's right there, and it's called Confused Girl. There it is. Find your peace in chaos, and she's got a formula for doing that. Like we're talking about this chaos and how do you find peace. One of the elements is yoga. There are some wonderful yoga has really become such a big thing. And you and I both know, like you can go to the Hollywood Bowl and go do yoga events. And if you're doing yoga in the Hollywood Bowl, like there's no better way to do yoga. It's wonderful there. I love the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, as we've complained about all these things, again, California is wonderful. Yeah, don't come here. And everything.
I love it. I love it. It's my state. It's and I'm protective over it. That's why I'm a little bit upset.
We get to be upset. We're the ones that pay the taxes here. We pay the premium. We pay the premium because it is wonderful, right? But we've got to get better results for the money we're spending, because this is not. You drive around most of LA, nothing bad is happening, you know? And I don't know how close you are to a Laughing Clown liquor store, but I love those places. They always crack me up. I always go in and spend money because I don't want that business to go away. It's all kinds of institutions and great places to see. Go up to see the Getty. Go better than that. Go up to the Getty on a night when they have some small level artist who's just like, I make money playing little gigs, and they go play the cello or whatever it is they do. You go up there to the Getty for evening cocktails. Oh my God.
No, it's fantastic. No, LA is so great about that kind of stuff. But even that is less and less, because people can't afford to live here. So even the creativity and being able to do that gets less and less. It's like you have to have a trust fund to do your creative passion or something, you know? It is
very tough. There is a lot of opportunity to get paid to create, but you have to find that path, and it is not easy to do. You're right about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So what else do you want to say about your website or your book? Or I know we kind of just got off on these other things.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, we're talking about what's happening. So, no, you can pre-order my book now. Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos. My website, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on my website, confusedgirlinthecity.com. You can also follow me and all of my travels and shenanigans at Confused Girl LA on Instagram. Here's the link right here to go to my website.
Confused Girl in the City. Yep.
Confused Girl in the City. I mean, isn't it so appropriate for what's going on right now too? It's like Confused Girl in the fiery city.
Oh my God, it's so crazy. Yeah, it is. The chaos that happens. It's part of the fun, honestly. Like when I drive, I get around a lot, and so I see things like, wow, there's a tire. A whole tire, rim, tire, everything, part of a car is sitting in the middle of the thing. And you're like, where did the car go? That was attached to that. You know? Or there was a car chase. And when it ended, the lady gets out of her car and they stopped all the traffic on the freeway. And it was like a bonanza of all her puppy dogs running around on the freeway at the end of this thing. You know, like I love collecting these stories, because the next time a plane could be landing on a freeway right now in LA, because that shit happens I'm saying LA, Southern California, happens all the time.
No, it really is. It really is such a fun, unique place. I mean, even I used to love going to Venice Beach and watching the skateboarders, and you'll even see like a 75-year-old lady with like bleach blonde hair in her bikini, and she's like all tan, like rollerblading down the listening to music, you know.
100% true. Yeah.
I loved, like, one day my friend and I was like, because we both have pink wigs. I was like, let's put on our pink wigs and wear crazy outfits and go to Venice Beach. And because I'm like, that's like the one place, well, pretty much all of LA I could go to and that would be fine. But Venice is like the one place that you'll go. And then people will be like, oh, you girls are so cute. I love that. And they'll buy you drinks. And you can, I love that freedom of expression and that wackiness. I mean, I actually made this because I have my own yoga wear, streetwear line, and you can find that on my website. But I love that. I love that. It's like, please just let's just get back to safety and some common sense, and then we can all like create and do our thing and express and not be scared of getting stabbed.
Oh my God. If only stabbed. Yeah. Oh, you lucky. You only got stabbed. And that's the tragedy of it, is I'm making a joke, but it's funny because it's real. You know, you're like, oh, your car just got knifed. Oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah, no, the first thing, at first I wanted to run the lady over with my car. And then I was like, no, be grateful it was your car, not your body.
Remember that. That's a great lesson for anybody. Just create space between you and the danger.
Yeah.
You're not locked there. There's no magnet. Just get away from it and like deal with the car later. You know, it's just not your day. Don't make it your last day. Get the fuck out of there.
Exactly. Just exactly. Yeah.
Well, listen, everybody. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and then I valeted the car. I paid $20 to valet the car instead of park on the street and free
Right.
parking. So
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many expenses. Like when you park a car and you're like, it's $50 to park here. You're like, all right. Yeah, it is very expensive. But we get to do wonderful things. California is a wonderful place, and it is complex. That's one of the beauties, but it's also one of the damning things. So everybody go check out Giovanna's stuff. Here, let's go through the links one more time so you guys can see them. Look, there's the Instagram handle, Confused Girl LA. And then you have the book, which you can get on pre-sale. And you guys know what I say, buddy read, buy 2. That's the best way to do it. And then you and your friend can read it. Get that yoga apparel right there at confusedgirlofthecity.com. Bing, bing, bing. Do that. That's how you support people who are doing wonderful things. And so, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm going to give you the last word, Giovanna. Probably. Sometimes I'll lie about that, but I'm going to give you the last word. Thank you so much for chatting with me. This is great. What do you have for us? And then we're going to roll the credits.
I would just say to everyone out there just being here in this fiery situation, just really count your blessings and enjoy the things you have in your life. And I think, again, just going back to respect, I think we all just need to go back to that principle of respecting ourselves and respecting others. And please don't virtue signal. Just respect each other. Thank you.
I'll be right back. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours truly.